Welcome, thanks for joining us now for Fans Pulse Lap 3 of episode 28. Do you have a discussion topic that you'd love us to tackle on a future episode? You ought to know what to do by now. Email us, messages, WhatsApp us. Look, you'll see circulating the screen constantly during this video. You'll see different ways that you can get in touch with us. Can I just say out loud that we haven't had too many WhatsApp messages or voice notes in a while, so that would be a particularly good way to get in touch with us. But please make your suggestions to us and we will absolutely assess them, and you might see your suggestion being discussed in a future episode. Okay, to round us off this week, we're about to jump into our latest interview. You'll know by now that we like to bring you up close and personal with riders and personalities from the wonderful world of Speedway, and we like to be able to speak with riders at all stages of their race careers and get to know them a little bit better. No exception this week, as we now get to meet a young man who has been enjoying a strong NDL season with the Leicester Lion Cubs. That was until picking up a back injury in a pairs event at Mildenhall at the end of July. Delighted to say that young man, Seth Norman, joins us now. Hello, Seth. Thanks for making time to speak to us on 360 Speedway. So, first of all, Seth, I just realised tonight I don't think I've ever spoken to a Seth in my whole life. It's Seth. So, a first for me. So, I'm sure this is going to be a memorable and enjoyable chat. But we're just going to catch up with you and find out what's happening and find out your thoughts about all things Speedway. I need to start though by asking how your recovery is going, Seth, since that injury last month.
To be honest, I've recovered a lot quicker than I thought I was going to, and we went to Steve Williams for some physio, some fracture treatment, like last night, which was on Tuesday, and to be honest, I think it's healing really well. And
excellent. So what's the next stage, Seth? Presumably you've got to go back to the hospital. Would you be more x-rays involved just to give you the thumbs up once again?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I've got to have another x-ray and maybe a CT scan to check that I'm all healing well and everything's going all right. But then I think it's just getting back on the bike, to be honest.
Well, inevitably I'm going to ask you about getting back on a bike. So, listen, Seth, I'm sure your parents and your family and all your friends will tell you that health has got to come first. I know that sounds boring, but health has got to come first. You're a young lad. Am I right in thinking, Seth, you don't turn 16 until, is it October?
Yeah, I'm 16 in October.
In October, okay. So listen, no doubt you just want to get back on your bike. I completely understand that. But how frustrating are you finding it, Seth, that to be injured, to be sat on the sidelines bang in the middle of the season, really?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't actually missed a lot of meetings, so it hasn't felt that bad. But I'm just, especially because I'm in the school holidays now, I'm just bored. Like, I feel like I've got not a lot to do.
You were telling me just off camera you've had a lovely leisurely day doing a bit of fishing, Seth. That doesn't sound too bad to spend a Tuesday doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty relaxing. Get to spend some time with a few of my mates and just chill.
Have you been back trackside? I'm not sure, in terms of distance and how easy it is for you to go and just watch a meeting. But have you been back trackside and got to chat to some of the lads?
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the Leicester meetings and a few meetings at Oxford.
And all things going well, Seth, with your recovery and getting the green light from the medics, is the plan, and I assume that you're going to say yes, is the plan to get back on the bike this season?
Oh yeah, 100%. I want to try and get back on the bike one time this week, to be honest, because at the minute I'm feeling perfectly fine, like I haven't even got injured.
Long may it continue, Seth. Well, listen, obviously we wish you well with the recovery, and hopefully it's going to be as speedy and as strong a recovery as you are suggesting that it might be. Let's rewind a little bit, Seth. You're a Banbury, Oxfordshire-born lad, if I'm not mistaken. I've done my research. Does that suggest that there's a family connection to the Cheetahs, perhaps, Seth?
Not really. It's more been Coventry, to be honest.
Okay.
Like my dad and granddad always used to go and watch Coventry, and then my dad was mechanicking for a few people at Coventry. But it's not really a lot to do with Oxford, to be honest.
It's incredible, actually. You know, just in general conversation over a long period of time, it's amazing how many conversations have a connection back to Coventry. You know, there's some fans at Glasgow who live in this part of the world now, but originally they're from Rugby or Coventry or that part of the world, and we desperately want, as we all do, to see the bees return to Brandon, hopefully in the not too distant future. So good luck to everyone that's involved in petitioning behind the scenes to make that happen. So growing up, Seth, do you remember being taken along to watch Speedway, and where would you typically have been taken to, and who would you admit to being your favourite rider, Seth?
Yeah, I remember the most vividly going to Leicester with my granddad and my oldest cousin. And my dad was mechanicking, and I remember him lifting me over the pit gate, and I got to sit on a few of the riders' bikes. And I also remember going to Coventry with my mum, but that's not as like vivid as the Leicester.
I always find it really super interesting. You know, again, over a long period of time in Speedway, I couldn't hand on heart say that, you know, Chris Harris is an Exeter fan or Scott Nichols is a Coventry fan, because riders don't typically tend to talk too much about that. But would you, Seth Norman, be prepared on camera on 360 to tell us that you are a fan of a certain club? Are you a Leicester fan, Seth Norman?
To be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of any of the, like, I don't mean it like that, but I don't really have like team, to be honest.
Okay. We believe you. I believe you, Seth. I believe you. Listen, you talking about Leicester. You know, you mentioned Leicester. Obviously, there's a bit of a Leicester connection, but we'll talk a bit more about that. But am I right in thinking in the past? I don't know how many years ago it was, Seth, that you began your Leicester connection as the club mascot. If that is the case, how did that come about? And do you have any sort of standout memories of being the mascot?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know how it came about me being a mascot, but I think it was something to do with the fact I was always riding there, and it was one of my favourite tracks at the time.
Okay, and do you have any? I mean, what age would you have been when you were the club mascot, Seth? How far back are we going?
I think I probably would have been around like 11 or 12.
Okay. Any riders from that period that you remember being a bit in awe of?
Richie Worrell.
Richie Worrell. I was always in awe of Richie Worrell as well. Rich, good evening, Richie. Hope you're well. If you happen to be looking in here, so 2026 has already been a bit of a big season for you, a big landmark season, Seth, because it in a very positive way, because it's your first full season in NDL, and you are in the starting lineup of the Leicester Lion clubs. How did that come about, and did that come as any particular surprise to you to get that opportunity, really?
Well, to be honest, they've been saying that they wanted me in their National League team for years, and I think it came about because I was a mascot, and they've always seemed to wanted me riding there, and I think it just kind of just happened.
The Lion Cubs have a pretty strong pedigree. They always seem to put together a very strong lineup. This season, you know, amongst others, that Freddie Hodder, Max Perry, both lads that I've seen a lot of up in at Glasgow. Ryan Ingram is in there as well. A terrific side it must be to be part of.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a good atmosphere as well. It's not all just serious. It's like a good laugh when it needs to be, and then it does get serious when like it needs to be serious.
When the visors go down, it all gets a bit serious, Seth. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
I've had a look at some of your scores, Seth, because I guess you've been on my radar. Yours is a name that I see regularly in NDL meetings, you know, and I've seen some other meetings and other events as well, which we'll talk about later. So, you know, I've seen your name, and I've also had a look at your scoring. So, given this is your debut season, you scored an impressive, I think was it 6 points you scored on your debut meeting for the Cubs earlier in the season. That must have been pretty pleasing for you, Seth. All the build up to making this big debut, and not only did you debut, but you scored 6 points.
Yeah, it was pretty good, to be honest. I mean, there's always like room for improvement, but it wasn't the worst it could have gone.
I see, Seth, outside of the NDL, I see you also getting quite a bit of experience of different tracks, and I guess new tracks to you. Redcar, Edinburgh, Bellevue, Workington, Glasgow, to name but just a few of them, as part of either the British Youth Championship scene, the GB Speedway Academy. I'm just going to put some photos on while you answer this, Seth. But tell us a little bit about how much it helps your development, just to get around some tracks that you wouldn't otherwise have too much access.
Yeah, well, the track time really helps just because that just helps you improve. That's all I need to do really is just ride the bike, and then I think getting some experience on some of the tracks that I'll hopefully be on in later in my career really just gets me to a head start with, like, if I go into the championship and stuff like that.
And I guess it's a silly question, Seth, because so many riders, even much more experienced riders than you, they talk an awful lot about having regular bike time, and the more you're on the bike, the more you feel at ease on the bike, the more comfortable you feel, the better, the more fluid, I guess, your racing is. I've looked at these photographs, and you've got a real neat, tidy style, Seth. But just to pick up on that point that I was making, the busier you are, I guess it makes riding and scoring points easier for you, theoretically.
Yeah, definitely. I think being comfortable on the bike is one of the main parts of it, just because I think when I feel comfortable on the bike, I ride so much better, and just being more, like, getting more bike time just makes you more familiar with the bike, and yeah.
To tell us a little bit about some of those GB Speedway Academy sessions. So one of the photographs that we showed there was you in discussion with Ollie Allen. And Ollie Allen's obviously, he's been there and done it, and he's still there and doing it in a team manager role for the national side. How invaluable is the sort of guidance and tips and pointers that some of those super experienced riders can highlight, Seth?
I think it benefits every rider differently, to be honest, because some riders just, like, instantly know how to do something, and then some need a bit of guidance. So I think I think that'll probably benefit beginners more than it would people who have been riding for a few years. But with me, it's really helped with my starts and just body positioning.
I was actually going to ask you if you could pick something out or put your finger on something that you have actually put into practice. So you mentioned body position, and another rider that we interviewed not many weeks ago, and I can't remember who it was, made the very same point. For someone who's never ridden a speedway bike, is never going to ride a speedway bike, can you help me understand just a little bit more, Seth? How important is it that you actively think about your body position on the bike? What does that translate to in terms of traction or speed or whatever it might be?
Well, I think it's one of the most important things, because I think if you're in the wrong position on the bike, it can make you slower, and it could even make you make it dangerous, because if you're it's happened to me a few times where it's caused a crash because I've been in the wrong part of the bike. And I think it's just so vital just to make sure you're sitting in the right place on the seat. I don't really know.
And is that something that over time just becomes more natural, and you don't so consciously think about it, or how active? Just to give it an insight, how active does a rider need to be on a bike when they're doing 4 laps there?
Well, I think probably the more you ride, the less you need to have it in your mind, because now that my body positioning's in pretty good position, so every single time I get on the bike, it seems to be in the same. I just seem to naturally fall into the same spot. So just kind of in the back of my mind, I just know I'm all right.
When I looked at some of your socials, we'll just do a little bit of prep for this conversation. I did see some favourable comments from some established riders. So it kind of sounds like, outside looking in, it kind of looks like you're reasonably well connected, and some riders are looking out for you already, Seth. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He says modest, right? Here's a loaded question, Seth Norman. So I talked about some of those other tracks that you've had done some laps on, one of which was Glasgow. Of all the tracks, Seth Norman, that you've ridden so far, including Leicester, which is your standout favourite and why?
To be honest, my favourite up until I got onto the 500 was Leicester, but now that I'm on the 500, I think it's got to be Glasgow. Everything just seems to be in proportion there, and I just really enjoy riding there.
Now listen, for anyone watching or listening out there, Seth and I did not previously talk about that question. We didn't discuss it. And Seth, in no way did I threaten you or bribe you to say Glasgow, did I?
No, you didn't. No.
It's pleasing to hear you say it, and I wasn't fishing for you to see Glasgow. Of course, I wasn't. But I suppose having identified Glasgow as being your favourite on a 500, that probably preempts what you're going to say in answer to my next question: is what type of track, Seth, do you feel best suits your style? So presumably it's a Glasgow or a Bellevue or a Redcar or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like the massive tracks, to be honest with you. I just always feel like a track like Bellevue, I seem to feel really vulnerable on it. Like, no matter where I'm riding, I always feel like someone's like next to me riding quicker than me. Do you know what I mean? But then a track like Glasgow, I feel like is the perfect mix of big and not like, but it's big, but it's not too big.
What would you identify that might have surprised you most about riding Speedway? So you've had a good number of meetings now. You've done these different sort of academy events and British Youth Championship events, etc. So now you're very much on the pathway to being an established, very promising rider, Seth. What surprised you most about, I guess, the world of Speedway or being a Speedway rider?
I think probably how easy it is to wheelie. That's got to be definitely one of the things.
Well, look, you say that there's many very, very established super world class riders who were never very good at doing wheelies.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I've dedicated a lot of time to try and do wheelies, and I'm just kind of learning them now, and I can sort of do them, and I think it actually surprised me how easy it is.
Do you know, one of my some dads out there will relate to what I'm about to say. So, when I was your age, Seth Norman, I used to be able to do wheelies with my eyes shut on my bike, a grifter. Who had a grifter back in the 70s or the 80s? Maybe your dad might know what I'm talking about. But it was so easy to do a wheelie. I could do it with my eyes shut, one-handed, all that stuff. And now, it's not very often I'm on the bike these days, but whenever I try to do a wheel, I can't even get the front wheel to lift off the ground. So anyway, it's just a little aside. Taking you were the youngest rider in this year's British Under-21 semi-final, which was held at Leicester, coincidentally, way back in May. But you actually scored 7 points, which included a fall within your 5 rides. So you were super close to, I guess, finish much higher up the finishing order. But nonetheless, you must really have enjoyed that particular afternoon, Seth.
Yeah, it was really cool to get in that meeting. That was one of my goals for this season, and I think just being the youngest rider in there, it kind of like propels me to do better, because I'm like, even though these people are older than me, I'm in this meeting with them, and I'm like, I know I could beat quite a few of them. So yeah.
And how, if you can remember how you felt that day, what's your composure like, Seth? Are you the sort of individual who doesn't feel the pressure too much, or you do feel it, but you're just able to process and deal with it? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I definitely get nervous. I think everyone does, but I think like some of the people who I race with seem to get a lot more nervous than I do. And for me, as soon as I've pulled up to the tapes for my first heat, the nerves just go, because there's more things in my mind than if I'm nervous or not.
I like it. I like it, Seth. I mean, that's got to be, if someone was to write the key to my success as a speedway rider, the ability to deal with and cope with and not be concerned about pressure has got to be right up there. So listen, you managed to get yourself into the Under-21 final itself, which was held at Redcar. I guess the level there for the final was a level up. I'm not sure if you'd ridden the Redcar track too often before that final, but so I think you scored 3 points on the day. But you must have driven home in the van afterwards, thinking that you'd learned a heck of a lot, Seth.
Oh yeah, 100%. There was a real good field of riders there, and a lot of them are my mates. And it just, even to come away with 3 points, I was buzzing with, to be honest.
And I would imagine, being part of something like that, it just gives you a taste to get back into it next year and make some, score some more points, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, now I know it's there, so I've got like, I know the goal's achievable,
Excellent. Okay, listen, I noticed again, away from the NDL scene, quite rightly, Seth, you've been taking advantage of opportunities to get some more bike times. I noticed a couple of outings for the Mildenhall Fen Tigers up at West Row. From a riding technique perspective, can you give us a bit of an insight or an understanding as to quite how different it is between Mildenhall and Leicester?
Well, Mildenhall's like, what do you mean? Is in track or?
The track, just in terms of do you have to adapt your riding technique at all, or the way you approach your racing to get round Mildenhall versus Leicester?
Not really, to be honest. It's obviously a bit of a smaller track with like tighter corners and stuff, but you still kind of the same like principles are there. You obviously change up a little bit, but you change up on every track, and I think Mildenhall's probably one of the best tracks in the country, if you was to ask me.
It's interesting you say that, because we don't get to see much of Mildenhall because it's not part of the league structure currently. Running under the NORA regulations, etc. But back in the day when the Fen Tigers were very much part of the fabric of British Speedway and West Row, that particular track, it used to get lots of rave reviews. There was lots of riders who certainly enjoyed going there, Seth. So, listen, talking about Mildenhall, good luck to the Fen Tigers in their latest fixture this Saturday. That's the 15th of August against the Kent Eagles, racing the second leg of the Pioneer Cup. The Eagles hold a 14-point advantage from the first leg. The meeting will feature Simon Lambert, Vinnie Ford, Aaron Butcher, Ben Whaley, Ben Morley and Edward Kennett is going to be there as well. So lots of interest for sure. Gates open at 6 p.m, tapes up at 7:30. Get yourselves along if you can. That's this coming Saturday night, the 15th of August. Seth, I noticed again when I was scrolling through your socials, I stopped because I noticed that you'd even managed to secure a meeting out in Belgium. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was quite. I actually did really well in that meeting, and it's a good experience, and it's really cool time like traveling across Europe with my dad, and it's just everything about them type of meetings are cool, to be honest. So I just really like doing them.
I don't think I know anything about Speedway in Belgium, but yeah, I can't even. I'm sure once upon a time there was at least one Belgian rider who featured regularly in British Speedway. But Belgium? They don't have league racing or anything. Is it only invitational meetings that, as far as you're aware, Seth, out there?
As far as I'm aware, I think that's the only track in Belgium I know of, Zolder, and I think that's the only thing that really runs in Belgium.
Are you able, can you remember the name? What was it? What's the name of the venue in Belgium? Where were you?
Houston Zolder.
Houston Zolder. And can you liken the track itself to any British track? Is it similar to a particular track in the UK?
Similar to Workington, but it's not at the same time, if you know what I mean. So I don't really think it's quite a unique track, but yeah, it's similar to Workington. But
that makes sense. No, that makes complete sense. Listen, if anyone happens to be watching who has been to that track in Belgium, please comment below and let us know what goes on there and what type of event that you will have watched over there. Quick, Seth, there is no question whatsoever that you've been impressing and making some terrific progress already this season. Who helps you most, Seth? You mentioned Dad. Who helps you most, I should say, and are there any good people behind you that you might want to give a bit of a mention to, Seth?
I mean, William Cairns helps me quite a lot. He's a good friend, and Paul, to be honest, they're really good people. They've helped me quite a lot, but I don't really know anyone else off the top of my head, to be honest. What side is it? Grant Henderson, he helps me out quite a lot.
I know Grant Henderson. Listen, but behind every up-and-coming, promising young rider, there's obviously a team of people, and I know Dad's in the background, and I'm sure Dad does you proud as well, and does lots of the hard yards for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's one of the key factors of it, to be honest.
Good old Dad. And Seth, I noticed your logo and your hat that you're wearing. If someone wanted to pick up some Seth Norman or Team Norman merchandise, how would they do that, Seth?
They'd have to shoot me a message on either Instagram or Facebook, and then just through there, yeah.
Seth, listen, you've obviously been unfortunate, with your injuries. It's obviously derailed your season a little bit, and obviously you would otherwise not have wanted that to happen to you. But you've already packed such a lot into your first season. We've covered quite a lot of it. I hope you do realise, Seth, that you are making some great strides forward. You are making people sit up and pay some attention to you and your progress. You are clearly a talent, and you have a wonderful style as well, which I've already commented on. I'll help get you a contract at Glasgow anytime you want, Seth Norman. Just shoot me a message, to use your terminology.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay, thank you. Listen, Seth, thanks for making time to speak to us on 360 Speedway. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more, and maybe in the fullness of time we can bring you back on and we'll have another bit of a chat, Seth. You can tell us about which Premiership side and which Championship side that you've signed for next season. Fingers crossed, all that stuff is ahead of you. But main thing, Seth, right here, right now, is to get yourself fit and strong once again. You've got many more laps ahead of you than behind you. But from all of us at 360 Speedway, best wishes to you and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Phil, I think, listening to Seth Norman there, it's a little bit like teachers and police. The older I get, the younger that they all seem to look. You're exactly the same with Speedway riders these days. Seth, though, is another highly likeable and an impressive young man, and clearly doing all the right things, Phil.
Yeah, and Seth's grown up in the sport. Steve has obviously been a top mechanic for many riders like Louis Kerr, and I think it was around Eddie Kennett. And Seth's been around Speedway since day one, and he knows his knowledge, considering his years, is really massive. And he's one of the probably more of the slow burners. He's not got all the headlines and the glitzy. I mean, he was really good pals with Will Cairns, who's obviously progressed from the British Youth Championship. But Seth's coming through. And, people mature at different stages. He's doing, as I say, he's doing all the right things. And like we spoke before about the GB structure, about how they want people to behave and what they need to progress and learn, he's doing all the right things. And he's coming up from down south to come and do all the GB academies, and he's going to benefit from that. Seth's going to be a good rider. I mean, he's got good people around him, a lot of knowledge, a lot of Speedway knowledge with bike setups. So he's got a very good chance. His dad knows everything about a bike. So you think he's got a really good chance of progressing and making a grader. And I believe he is. I think Seth Norman's going to be one of these guys who comes up off the radar pretty quickly over the next couple of seasons.
Thank you, Phil. Look, I'd never spoken to Seth before, but he won't mind me saying that I was super impressed by him. And it was a bonus that he mentioned. He identified Glasgow as being his favourite circuit in the whole of the UK. Nigel, we heard Seth talking there about, and Phil just mentioned that he's attended the GB academies. He's been at Glasgow a couple of times, I think. Given the youth structures and the opportunities that these young lads have these days, do you ever wish that was available to you when you started there? I wonder what difference that could have made, Nigel.
I don't really know. I was never very good at a young age anyway. Well, I only ever got to where I got in later years, but I'm sure it must have benefited. But today it's totally different, isn't it? It's so much more professional. Like Phil was saying, the diets and everything else what goes into it nowadays. You could have said that to Peter Collins, couldn't you? To all the rest of them lads, would they have benefited from something like that? I don't know. It's totally different nowadays, isn't it? Just very, very professional. The only thing I'd say is, obviously, Seth Norman is another star coming through, because I don't mean it wrong, this, but if he wasn't a shining light, I don't think they'd be spending a lot of time pointing him in the right direction, if you like. Not that he wouldn't go in the right direction. I don't mean any of that. But they're giving him, he's got every opportunity, hasn't he? And they're giving him every chance to make it in Speedway. And good luck to the lad. Everybody seems to talk very highly of him. I don't particularly know a lot about him myself. But from what Phil said, you said, and the Great Britain setup as it is now, it's so good for the young kids. They've got to adhere to it, and if they want to get on, that is the way forward. And if it makes them good, that's the way you've got to go. Again, as you've all said, Denmark do it, Poland do it. We're just years behind doing it. but maybe now it's starting to show some fruition, and the lads are starting to come through. And more will come through. I'm sure it will. I don't think Speedway is as dead as what people say. With a bit of luck, we'll bounce back. Everything goes in a circle. It'll come back round, but it needs a lot of hard work. And these young lads coming through, they're the future for us. They're our future.
Well said, that man. Seth Norman doesn't turn 16 until October, as you heard him say, but doing all the right things. Good luck to you, Seth Norman. That's it from us this week. A bit of a mammoth episode from end to end, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoy. Maybe you can pause things and restart things. I hope you enjoy all of the chat and all of the insight provided by Phil and Nigel. Do get involved in the conversation. Please do take even just 30 seconds to comment below this video and any of our social media posts and have your voice heard. Nigel Crabtree, Phil Lanning, thank you very much indeed for stepping into the breach for episode 28, and to you for tuning in to support what we do. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Good night.
See ya.